Hello and welcome. You are now listening to a new episode of Spark Your Creative Coaching's Spark Your Creative podcast. And I am your host, Sharon Burton of Spark Your Creative Coaching. And I am so excited to be here once again with you. And we are continuing our series on creating, cannot barely get it out today, creating through uncertainty. I have invited some really cool people, colleagues, friends, peers, to share their thoughts on getting through this interesting time in our nation's history, as we are still dealing with COVID after a year and a half. We are dealing with some of the fallout of some of the different things that have happened in the last year, economic issues, social unrest, and a variety of things in between. And as we move forward, you know, we have to take in an account that many of us that are artists and creatives are highly sensitive people. We take in a lot of energy. And, this can be a tough time to reach our creative goals or to move forward with our creative practice or anything in between. And so this series is not about to, dwell and simmer in what has gone sideways for many of us, but to how to cope and move forward. And as a creativity coach, I am not one to just share and lecture what I feel people need to do. I think it's very important that you hear from your peers because sometimes there's an aha moment that you get from someone who has a similar practice or similar philosophy. So I've gathered I actually curated a very interesting group of people for this podcast series to kind of deal with those issues. And one of the most interesting people I've met this year is Beth Benson. And I met her. There's a lot of fallout from the artist moving group. I've met some really cool people with that. And Beth is one of the people I met participating in one of their lives, actually two, right, this year.
Yes.
Um, I was like, after the last project I participated in, I was like, I gotta have Beth, because every time she would talk at live broadcast, I'd be like, dang, I just dig that. I just dig where she's coming from. So I was like, Beth, you got to come on my podcast and be a part of this series. And I'm so glad that she did. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Beth Benson, who calls herself the Crestline Creatix, is a transformative artist using everyday art materials and sacred intention to weave webs of connection for the healing, hopeful experience of her clients, collaborators, readers, and viewers. Beth bravely explores her own connections in hyper personal confessional writing about internal relationship, family, community, and ecological truths that inform the contrasts and intersections inside climate and political realities. She consciously collaborates with her Facebook readership to create community and publish every-ish day. That's a word. Intentional improvisational collaboration is Beth's favorite art form. She earned her Master's of Art in Transformative Art from the Department of Arts and Consciousness at JFK University. And she is the founder and facilitator of the Crestline Creative Matrix, a transformative art studio and sustainability sanctuary, which is located in the mountains, not far from San Bernardino, California, and offers personalized transformative art journeys online and one day in person classes Hands-on experiential learning opportunities co-created in the spirit of guiding folks to use the stuff they collect in life in an artful complement to the environment that lets us live. Thank you and welcome, Beth, to the podcast.
Erin, thank you so much. It's been my honor to be on the panel with you a couple of different times. And if that was happening for you, it was equally happening for me. I'm like, oh, this is my person.
The synergy. If you all get a chance to look at Art is Moving, they're the folks that do Take a Art Day. If you go online on Facebook or on their Facebook page, I believe it's on there. Both those interviews that we did as a group of creatives and coaches and artists, and we were talking about the importance of creating and taking art breaks. And Beth was on both of those with me, I think one in the spring and one in September for Take a Art Break Day. And you know, you'll see the synergy that we have. It was funny. The September one was interesting because I wasn't at home. I was at a close friend's house, and so I was trying to get settled there and comfortable. And you know, I was kind of on the quiet side because the first time I was just blah, 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 you know, and this time I was kind of a little bit laid back, and I was just trying to get myself together. And Beth was the one that was kept calling me out. Oh, so I was like,
come play with me. Come play with me.
What I think today. Okay.
Just a moment to say, you know, all love to Lisa and Lauren who brought us together. And Art is Moving was born at JFK when we were all there together.
You were there with them.
We all went to this crazy art school that doesn't exist anymore, except in the hallway and the way we took it home with us. But
you all are really, you know, because I was sitting there saying to myself, I think I want to try that. Maybe it's time for me to go to Cali and shoot that. If that was the product of what they did with the project that they were doing, the Art is Moving, and the work that you're doing through your Crestline Creative Matrix studio, you know, even though they were short-lived, they had the right folks in there that's really making a difference in the world.
Thank you.
That's all that we need right now. And that's the reason why we're doing this series, because I think it's important that you get a chance to know people. It's not about the rich and famous or the artistically rich and famous or whatever. It's everyday people like Beth and the good folks at Art is Moving and some of the other people that have been a part of this podcast that are doing some things and giving you ideas on what how to move past this time. And so what I thought I would do is start off with my first question, Beth.
Please, yes.
Oh, goodness.
You can ask me.
What kind of creative activities or practices are you currently engaged with through Crestline and, personally?
Sure. I have in this strange pandemic time, I have been freed from all responsibility until tomorrow. Tomorrow I start a brand new job. But my job for the pandemic has been to migrate from San Francisco, where I spent 25 years building installations and being a transformative artist and working in Silicon Valley, down to Crestline. And then in the pandemic, as happened for all of us, we had surprise opportunities to think deeply about what we care about and who we are and who we want to be when the world goes forward. I'm reluctant to say returns back. And so my daily practice that was always on the margins of my life moved to my work life. So I time block my day for morning rituals that have to do with writing. It's Julia Cameron's Artist's Way. It's fall out of bed and onto the page. And it's 3 3 pages longhand in your own handwriting without electronic tools. And then I have a Facebook practice. I made a decision in grad school I'm a writer. I want to be a writer. So I have to write every day, and Facebook just makes it easy. There's a little publish button at the end of any. So I have a very long form status update, and I have some folks who've been reading me for a dozen years now. A dozen years.
Well, I mean, that's good. That's good. Because, apparently you're sharing something that's, resonating with people, and probably even more so now than maybe, years ago.
I definitely love the feedback that I get to hear, and I love having a way to work it out in writing and in public writing. I have a way to say, what I watched and what affected me and what I made it mean in my life and what I want to do about it now. And all of that comes out in the writing. Writing is my best writing teacher, and having a way to show up with it every day is sacred. And that morning pages ritual that started with the Julia Cameron franchise of how to be an artist shifted slightly when I got to grad school. But that conscious decision to have a community of people, whoever they are, to allow them to self-select in and out, and then to be responsive, to show up and be responsive. So I have that I'm doing. At the beginning of every year, also in the Scrooby Art School, there's another artist named, she calls herself Naomi now, Judy Shintani, who invites us all to make mandalas for the first 12 days of the year. And those I make with magic markers. Harold and the Purple Crayon is my favorite of all things. And when I don't know how it's going to go, if I'm dealing with uncertainty, then I pick up a crayon and draw like a kid about what I want it to be. And then it lives in the notebook, or it becomes part of collage. But I do that at the first 12 days of the year. And then at the beginning of every month, I do a different collage mandala. I don't know, you can see them back here, but just, they become sort of,
oh, wow.
Okay. They become like vision boards or something for the month. So those are like the ritual things that I do. And then I've made, in the space particularly, which is an artist in residency, you can come, please, Sharon, come.
I've been thinking about it. I start reading about it. I said, you know what? I was like, we need to be next summer.
Yeah.
Real. I've been, those of you that know me or know a little bit about me, I am an artist.
Yes.
Excuse me. And
as a writer.
And a writer, yeah, I'm claiming that. One of the things that I have that's on my bucket list as a visual artist is to do an artist residency. And I was sitting there saying to myself, when I was looking at that, I said, that is perfect right there. Yeah. That is perfect to go to, I was looking at the photos on your website, and I was like, and then of course your energy too. So yeah, I think we need to talk about that offline, how we can make that happen, because I think 22 is going to be the year for some of that happening.
I love that so much. For the residency, in all of the rooms in the house, in all of the spaces around the house, there are set up art materials at every table, writing desks in every room. So there's not I don't have to think about, I can just go wherever I am. The paint materials are there, the markers are there, the stuff to make with is there. And having that set up artfully in such a way that it looks good in case anybody shows up for any reason, but it also looks inviting to me, then all the ways I want to be creative are presents. They have a place to live. They're out, they're visible, and they're inviting. And so that changes what I do in a day, right? It's not just the dishes, it's dishes past the make a mark in it book, and then when I go outside, the retaining wall I've turned into one of these graffiti murals that that everyone who comes here can shift and change and
Oh,
stay in
wow.
communication with. And that's from San Francisco. There are all these conversational mural streets where you can, where an artist has made a statement and you can come in and collaborate with or make over, you know, what's going on there. And so it's a conversation that stays alive, that invites street art, that invites artists to express. And I've made a space like that in my front yard. So now when I'm doing dishes, I'm looking at the mural, and that keeps me in the ecosystem or the dream of the world I want to be in, which is where everything gets to be an expression of creativity.
Yes. I'm going to go off script here a little bit. If you mentioned a lot about in your comments, the one thing I kind of picked up was ritual.
Yes.
And, you know, one of the things I did a podcast on the port of on, you know, ritual as part of creativity and helping with creativity. And I believe in ritual myself. I am a disciple of Julia
Yes.
Cameron.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yes.
on pages, artist dates, and all that. I have to admit I've been a little slack on them morning pages, but we're gonna pick that up. Um, but I wanted to explore that a little bit about you know, why is ritual important to you as a creative, and how has that helped you through when the pandemic started and
Mhm.
everything else that followed? You know, tell me a
Yeah,
little.
I think sometimes ritual gets all, like, I believe in lots of different things. So I am honored and grateful for all the gifts of spirit that have been given to me or bestowed on me. I'm a white girl from Kansas. I don't pretend to be anything else. And
Right.
lots of people from a lot of different traditions have given me some understanding that allows for tremendous depth of
Mm.
honoring the
Mm-hmm.
breath, honoring the life, honoring the experience that comes from somewhere else that's rooted just like the trees in the backyard, right? So if you're growing up, there's some part of you that's rooted in some ground somewhere. And then
That is
there's a standing and a reaching and a growing and then a gift giving that comes from all of that. And that's in our humanity always. So just having a moment to like recognize the sacredness of all things. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, I like ooga booga, all the stuff, right? I like, and I have it and I can do it. And what I have learned on the other side of the romance of what that is that none of that is necessary. That
mm-hmm.
all of us inside our own life are doing ritual already. It's the way we wake up. It's the way we brush our teeth. It's the way we have breakfast. It's the way there's a, that, you know, that we're engaged in a series of things. And the pandemic helped us remember what we loved about our life before it, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
way of getting coffee, that way of saying hello to that person that we used to pass, you
Mm-hmm.
know, on our way to a world where we were all in it, not holed away, but in it together, in public space together, in you know, showing up at the farmers market, all the things that shifted for the last year and a half. I think we have an opportunity to embrace again with new gratitude. And that anything that brings a consciousness of the sacred nature of one's own life, however one defines that for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and the honor of the living breath. Like, what a gift that our lungs work. You know, and that when we're breathing, we're not killing our friends or our family members because we're breathing in a conscious way. All of this global craziness allowed us to get conscious in a radically different way of what it means to be breathing and above ground and with one another in healthy human ways, humanity. We have an option at that again, you know, and
Absolutely.
right along with it, right along with it. I remember I worked at Workday in a sustainability capacity. I was on the team that created green teams and some kind of consciousness about the planet and the climate and the decisions we were making as a company to be able to shift or change our understanding of interconnected reality. And now again, same thing, right? We have a chance to understand climate in a different way.
Yes.
We have a chance to understand the breath in a different way. We have a chance to understand our consumptive patterns. How many hours did we drive to get to work before? Do we still have to do that? Is that something, how many times did we fly so we could be together with people who live far away? Is this virtual alternative, a way that can help us balance our need to be together and our need to keep the air capable of being breathed?
Absolutely. For us to live.
Yeah, right.
Continue to be life force for us. I definitely agree with that. And I think that when we look at COVID, when we look at everything that kind of came after that,
Mm,
it was an opportunity, particularly for creative people, to see things. We tend to be highly sensitive anyway. I
yeah.
always talk about that, and that's something that you know not many of us talk about, but we tend to be.
Mm,
Not all of us, but we tend to be. And so it's an opportunity for us to take our talents to weigh all the things that you mentioned
mm.
and create and showcase those things in a way that it's kind of like back in Europe back in
Mhm.
the day. A lot of artists were used to interpret stories of the Bible, you
Yes.
know, and because you had a largely illiterate mass of people. And so, art became sort of a way of literature in a sense.
And
Um, and I
sure.
think that whole dichotomy has not really changed that much, not so much about literacy as far as reading is concerned, but the role of artists to help people see things in a different way. We have a lot of negative messages that have continued to kind of been thrown at us
Mhm,
while we're trying to deal with this COVID thing.
mhm.
Um, and at the same time, a lot of consciousness has been raised. And I dare say that a lot of it was done by the artist, by creatives, who I think are frontline workers. Um,
I
not
agree.
maybe not so much as far as dealing with the public, like someone in the healthcare system, and nor am I belittling or making them equal to them in the kind of work that they do. But at the
Mm,
same time, they are frontline workers in the sense of taking all of these things, whether it's climate change, whether it's the political realities we're facing, the socioeconomic realities
mhm,
we're facing, um, the death toll of COVID and
mm,
the infighting about whether to wear a mask or not wear a mask, whether to inoculate, whether not to, all of that. An artist is one of the few people can take all of that, whether it's through music, their art, visual art, dance, whatever, and really have a commentary about it to help people see themselves and say, this is what we're dealing with, or even what a new reality might end up being.
yes, yes.
Because the new reality, like you said, I hesitate and actually would rather not that we go back to the way things have been because we were unenlightened. If that means staying unenlightened, nah.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
we
yeah.
can get to a reality that's healthy and safe with a new sense of who we are and a new appreciation for each other. That's the reality I'm interested in. And I think artists can do that. But I also know that this has been hard on us.
Of
I mean,
course it
this
has.
has been hard on me as an artist. It's been
Mhm.
hard on a lot of my friends who are artists,
Yes.
and creatives and writers. And then there's some, and many of them I'm interviewing on this podcast series that I've noticed have thrived. I mean, they just taken, they knocking it out. But I think they're seeing it from that vision I was saying. They're taking advantage of the material and the energy that COVID has brought, and the whole pandemic and everything that has happened, and it's fueling them. One of my the people, a young lady that I interviewed who's a poet, her energy just went through the roof through this. She's a school teacher, but she's also a poet, and she knocked out her first chapbook.
Yes, yeah. There's a moment where we interrupted what we were always already doing,
Right.
and we gave space where there was no space before. Well, and different for different people. Now, my kids are grown. Am I'm single now, so I wasn't living on top of, competing with, managing all the
Right.
things that so many people inside active young families were. So I wasn't changing my hats all the time. I had an opportunity to dig deeper, um, with no distraction. Like there was not there was not a distraction other than the death toll of COVID. And I have to be honest, Sharon, I think I've told you on panels we were on before, like I was watching that 24/7. I was
Yeah.
counting. I'm still counting. I just check in every
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
weeks instead of every single day, right? I was watching it. And it's if I'm in my empathic space, there's no way to feel all that grief, like to
There
hold
isn't.
it.
I mean, it wipes you out.
But
And
the art can, like that. You're right about that. Like the art can take it. Anything you've got to if you make a creative space, you say, this is just for my making, for me to work it out of me, right? To meet you, then you have tremendous freedom, possibility, opportunity to say what's absolutely real,
right.
And that's the thing that I think COVID, the gates got opened because nobody knew how to gate. So lots of people showed up virtually with one another and then remembered, oh yeah, YouTube lets
Mhm.
me publish. Oh yeah, Facebook lets me say anything. you know, and I liked that Facebook was a part of generating things like revolution like the Arab Spring. And I do not like what happened on January 6th at all. Like, with the manipulation of misinformation. There's a difference when we're piping that stuff into us and when we're sitting and breathing and our feet are on the ground and we're saying, what do I want? What's authentic to my being? And all of that, in my experience with lots of different kinds of people all around the world, that is about living, it's about breathing, it's about loving, it's about our connectedness. And
Yeah.
all that other story stuff, and even the narratives we've told artistically or creatively through theater or movies or all that story has everything to do with a monastic academic tradition where we could only learn certain kinds of things from certain kinds of
Yeah.
people and then power over everybody else with how important that shit was supposed to be. And it isn't, it just I've been, during COVID, I've been pulling the ivy out of my backyard. and my son graduated from an Ivy League school, and I want that narrative out of him, off of him. I don't want him to have to continue. He's from Nigeria, and he has to engage in a certain kind of story about a certain kind of power over and its effect on people. And we have to break the narrative. It was never true, except in the ways we used it to make truth. And that's not the pandemic has given us an opportunity to look at what else is possible in the ways that we relate to one another and in the ways that we make art about what we want going forward. And maybe enough doomsdayness and maybe enough climate crisis movies. Like let's have the narrative where we actually start giving a shit and doing something different.
You know? So how did the pandemic and everything, did that affect you? Like
Yeah.
your creative practice? And how did
My
you
whole
kind of
life.
move past that?
Well, I don't think there is a past that. Like I think there's a with that. Like, it's like I own the stories of my past. I own all the mistakes I've made. I own all the things I did, and I'm still growing, and I'm still breathing, and I'm still moving forward. I don't know how, when it's time to layer in, work again in a different kind of way, or economic reality in a different kind of way. I'm hoping that I've learned so much from the trees that I live with now because I've been breathing with them.
I mean, trees are the teachers.
Yeah, yeah.
I do believe that. I
And
think trees have a lot of, and that may sound woo-woo to some, but I think trees, they've been here longer than most of us.
yes,
They've seen a lot.
yes,
They've heard a lot. And I think kind of in a spiritual way, and I think that's why I like hiking and all that so
yes,
much, because I sense their messages
yes,
when I go out. And I think that's part of that whole forest bathing thing. But, whether you're hiking, forest bathing, whatever you want to call it, I think part of the piece for me is that they're constantly sharing their knowledge with us.
yes.
And I think now they've been beckoning because there's so many people outdoors now. We didn't, a lot of folks. I was lucky that I started hiking way before all this stuff started happening.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
it wasn't like, oh, brand new to me. But because there's a lot of people, it's like, wow, I just never knew. And I grew up in a fairly rural community, so I have always valued time outside.
Yeah.
That's been a part of me. But I think in some ways, just talking to you right now, I just realized that knowledge of the trees. But anyway, I didn't mean to take you off
Yeah,
course.
no, it's like that my trees are big giant cedar trees, and when I stand and I look up to them, there's this other kind of way of holding my body. There's a different thing that happens to my heart. There's a different physicality in my knowing, because these things are rooted and growing, and every year they get bigger and wider. It helps me as a 55-year-old person adding bigger and wider rings.
We can't survive these days.
A bit of a grand tree. But it also like
Gen X. No, but I get it.
Yeah.
And a matter of fact, a lot of people in our age group are very much more connected, I think, to nature than we used to be. And a lot of us grew up in areas where we could appreciate nature, and we're rediscovering it. And so I see the power of that through what you're saying.
And just to sit with, just to be present with. And so what I learned from them, when you ask me what's going to happen when we go forward, I hope that I'll just keep everything I learn and keep growing, to stay open, to keep growing, to hear new voices, to reach out, to keep offering, to keep trying what I believe as a way of being, right? So how do I, at the Matrix, I'm concerned about climate change. So how do I, as an individual, gate what comes into my home, and then make artful use of the byproducts that would live forever in a landfill? Like I told my neighbor today, I was I was wishing I would gate what I'm reading differently, but I read that glass will live 1,000,000 years in landfill. Glass containers will live 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000 years, and diapers will live 500 years. And I just like to think about what I have unconsciously used in my own life and then just throw away as if there's a way to throw something
Yeah.
without without knowing or noticing or engaging creatively. So now everything essentially becomes an art supply. Right? So
Yeah.
how do I make artful use of my consumptive pattern and the things that generates in the world, and how can I be conscious of what I'm bringing into my life, my house, my body, my world, in such a way that I know I want to live with it, because it will be on the planet long, long, long after me. Right. So the same with the trees. If I'm doing it right, my trees get to live longer than I will. And my stuff will have been artfully um, expressed. I will have used the things that came through me to make something that's worth leaving here.
Mm-hmm. That's very profound, and it's also part of um, one of the supposed, the founders of creativity coaching, Eric Mazel. I don't know if you're familiar with,
Yes.
but his whole piece has been one of his tenets is that one of the issues we have as creatives and as artists is that a lot of times we struggle to find purpose
Mm.
in what we do.
Mm.
And I think what you just articulated is a way of how you've been able to find that purpose,
Thank
you
you.
know, and that's sort of one of the things that I think as artists, as creatives, that we can look at this time period and say, okay, what is the purpose of my work, my practice? And it doesn't have to be this grand save the world thing,
Mm-mm.
but it can be something that can be not only healing to you as the practitioner, as the artist, as a creative, but also can serve to help others, because art is so, and creativity is very much very visible and
Mm-hmm.
audible. You know,
Yeah.
it's something that we take in with the senses, and that has the ability to heal others,
Yes. Yes.
and again, I think that creatives are frontline workers. I
Mm.
also think that they're healers, and a lot of people, look at it like healers, but yeah, we are. I
I
mean, we may not be healing arts people, massage and Reiki and all that,
Yeah.
but we are healers. We have the ability to calm and to bring about a certain awareness and to remind ourselves not only of our vulnerability but our strength.
Yes.
And I think that's really important. And I think that when we find ourselves struggling to figure out, well, what is my purpose as an artist? I think all of us as creatives have that.
I
And
agree with you
it's a
completely.
matter of how we want to do that. And I think times like this, and even looking at art history and saying, okay, how did creatives show up and artists show up in other times? What did they do? How can we be the modern version of what happened at the turn of the century, or 400 or 500 years ago? What when we think about these things, and I think it's sort of looking at a very unfortunate situation in a different kind of way and being more empowered. And I think part of it is the getting in touch with ourselves, getting in touch with um, what's happening all around us, and being careful to filter that, because as you said, we can get down this whole black hole of, okay, how many people died today,
Right, 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 right,
or
right.
we can, I interviewed someone recently where, she started a group art project
Hmm.
to spread hope and healing,
That's it. Yes, yes.
so how can we, take those that may be in an unfortunate situation of being in the hospital right now because of COVID or whatever,
Mm-hmm, hmm.
and still give them hope and healing and love and send positive energy out to them. I
Yeah.
think, and how can we learn from you know, climate change?
Yeah.
What are the lessons we can learn from that, like what you're doing, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we all have an opportunity, and art and healing, there's kind of the same. In my, I've had the opportunity to be a teaching assistant for a number of healing artists who both have physical healing practices and but come to all of that sense making through the art. And so art and healing is first and foremost for the individual, and then for the dyad, for the family, for the community, and the earth. Because once you've figured out how to make sense of your own heart, mind, body, soul system, uh, that the art making lets you see, then you have a chance to open that experience to other people. And that's art is the healer. It's, you know, yes, sometimes it's the artists that open you to your own healing power, but my favorite artists are the ones who give you the way you make art rather than teach you how to make their art
There
or
you
your
Yeah.
expression of their art. And I think, you know, that there's a very big difference. And because you brought it up again, I want to say, you know, way back when artists were, you know, whatever we've revered about the canon that's
Yeah.
taught in
Mhm.
in art, it completely denies the people who made artful houses, who made artful scarification, who made beautiful ritual with one another. There's like a complete denigration of what people grew up with knowing, how to make something beautiful. Native American pottery, you know, these things that are indigenous to people of connected human beings have a sense of what feels good, what looks good, what is good for them, and what and how to extend that offering to the ones that they love, and how to expand the ones that they love to expand to all of us who are capable of love. So but art plugs us into all of that, and if we can sit still with our heartbreak and our loneliness and our, you know, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out, unknown, then we're diving into the deepest part, and Nirguna Brahman, this like unknown, unknowable, this kind of thing that's outside of all the things that have been defined and taught so far. And then you're in real creativity. You're in this, you're in it. You're of it and you're in it. And it's a collaboration between you and whatever's going to happen on that page or on that canvas or in that dance, or how you let yourself sing for the first time in forever, right? Like all, and then it's doing you and you're doing it, and it's the most amazing kind of love making.
It's a dance. So I guess to wrap all of this up, because you dropped some great gems today.
Thank you.
If someone is struggling right now to get past a creative block
Mhm.
because of the energy that they're taking in, you
Mhm.
know, whether it's from out there
Mm.
or even in their household or
Yeah.
even themselves, you know, um, dealing with the news, dealing with um, maybe loved ones that have passed on
Mhm.
or sick or, um, you know, economic downturn. Maybe their job was affected by COVID, or maybe it's none of those things at all. It's just, you know, there's a lot of people that are blessed, but it's just the energy, the
Yeah.
heaviness of the times. What do you recommend that they do to help them open up their creative selves again?
Yeah, there's something that we loved as kids. And I don't know what you know, it's individuated. So each one of us had a thing. Crayons on the table make a difference. Making marks makes a difference. Making sound makes a difference. Moving your body in a way that you've never let yourself move your body will open something. And maybe you won't like all the things you feel all at once when you've opened it. But if you stay with it, it has a place to go. Artists get what's going to happen in the world way before it happens in the world. And
Mm,
then that technology, that hookup, that energetic knowing gets twisted in the ways of the current power paradigm to be able to become whatever it becomes. Way before Honeywell developed this kind of technology that we're having right now, where we can be visual with each other no matter where we are on the earth, artists were doing that. I met the artists who made the window where you could walk past it and see the people in New York. And so there's a knowing way before it becomes the economic or technological, way before it becomes a thing. It starts in the crayon, it starts in the imagination, it starts in the longing. And I believe in divine discontent, that thing that says this is not enough, or this is not me, or this is not what I want to be doing. There is a thing you want to be doing, and it has to do with your heart, mind, body, soul system. There's a gift you have to leave here for whatever is happening to humanity after this. And so what that gift is, sometimes it sounds like heartbreak, sometimes it sounds like ripping and tearing and breaking, and then it turns into, some really beautiful mosaic or collage or something that makes something out of all the mess of pieces that we are in right now. And as you do that work, whatever that is for you, you put yourself back together. And you put yourself back together, not in the way that you were pretending to be for what you thought you were supposed to be, but in the way that you actually work, like the way that you get what divinity is offering you up from the ground, if that's where it comes from for you, or down from the heavens, but it comes together in your heart, mind, body, soul. And then you have an expansion. And it has to do with how you love you. And if you can figure out how to love you, and art will help you, it will help you, writing will help you. You can tell the truth to the page, you can rip the truth up, you can tear it, you can submit it to all the alchemical situations. It does become a vein of gold inside your own human being. And that's the thing we all are called to be. That's how we get here, and that's why we're here. The thing that's gold in you is for you to give, to offer, to share, to show. And that same, is whatever's, and maybe it doesn't look like you have to make a lot of bad art before you feel like you want to show it to somebody. But that is also the healing. That's the gift, right? If you get what you're trying to say in the world by making all this stuff, then you've got something to say that has to do with you, not what you saw in the news or your response to, or who your people were and what they made you believe. You get a chance to be now in the here of connected living. And then everybody gets free.
Awesome. I could listen to you all day.
I love you. Thank you for being willing.
How can people find out about you and Crestline Creative and all of that wonderful stuff? How can people find you on social media, on the web?
So www.crestlinecreatrixmatrix.com, or much easier, bethbenson.com. And all of that I'll keep emoting and showing and sharing. My website, the bethbenson.com, has a conglomeration of books I've written and spoken word stuff I've done, and lots of gallery pictures, so you can see all of that. Instagram, I love to upload pictures. Pictures are always worth way more than 1,000 words. So at Artmaker Poet for my personal journey, at Crestline Creatix Matrix for what's going on in the space. And then at 33 Trees Project, which is a project I have about all of us finding a tree in our community to celebrate or reclaim or recover with. I'll get you involved, Jared.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Beth.
Thank you.
This has been such a wonderful discussion. And again, as I always do, if those that are listening or watching, if you're having some struggle with trying to stay creative during this time and keeping your creative practice online, and maybe feeling a little derailed because of the times, I, encourage you to reach out to me or someone. But as a creativity coach, I can help you at least get refocused and back online. So, um, you can reach out to me at www.sparkyourcreative.com, or on Instagram at Spark Your Creative, or Facebook at Spark Your Creative Coach. And of course, I appreciate you listening. Please like, share this podcast, comment, share whatever you feel that, if something has really blessed you, or if something you really resonated with any of these podcasts. This is for you. This is my gift to you to help you, get through these times, because I know it's tough. Thank you so much, Beth, for
Sharon,
being
thank you.
with me, and looking forward to keeping the connection going.
Please, yes, and I'm quite serious. Please come for a residency. Please, please.
Okay,
Early days.
okay. Thank you all for listening. Take care, and look forward to you joining our next podcast episode. Take care. Bye bye.